All right, we are back in session and we are ready to consider our next case, and that would be Mr. Steve Stewart. Mr. Stewart, good morning.
Good morning.
Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Steve Stewart, DOC number 337546.
Okay, and you have counsel with you. Counsel, would you introduce yourself?
Good morning, Board. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for the Louisiana Parole Project, here on behalf of Mr. Steve Stewart.
Okay, thank you. We have quite a number of people here in support today on Zoom. We have the Parole Project, Mr. Myers, Mr. Reginald Watts, also on Zoom. Here at headquarters, we have Tara Raven, Stacy Polizzola, and Tim Wilkerson. At Hunt, this is who I have on my list: Carrie Stewart, Roy Waller, Ron Hicks, Keith Bozier, Gil Jasmine, Sydney Morton, and Mary Waller. Did I miss anybody?
No, ma'am.
We also have some folks here with us at headquarters in opposition. We have Stacy Bates and Stephanie Sanchez. And also of note, I have listed on my sheet that are not speaking, they're viewing, but have an interest, is Charles Degravells and Arthur Rhodes. So first, let me just put some information into the record. Mr. Stewart was originally sentenced in March 1994 to a life sentence for second-degree murder. His sentence was commuted by Governor Edwards in November of 2023 his sentence was commuted to 99 years with parole eligibility after attaining age 55. It's my understanding your 55th birthday will be July 15th of 26. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the reason you came up for parole before that date was because a different legislative act, Act 122, made you parole eligible sooner than your 55th birthday. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You had a parole hearing August 8th of 2024. You received 2 votes to grant, 1 vote to deny, which it has to be a unanimous vote. So that outcome was that your parole was denied at that time. And you submitted a request for reconsideration based on a technicality. And that request was granted. And that's why we're here again today. Is all that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we've been through those preliminaries. Your case, well, first, let me ask Ms. Hutchinson, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we hear from those who are in support?
Just that you read Mr. Rhodes and Mr. DeGravel's name towards opposition, but they are in support. So I just wanted to, okay.
I said support. I'm sorry. It does indicate that they are in support. Thank you.
Yes. And I will speak at the end when the panel determines it's appropriate.
Morton, is there anything you want to tell us about Mr. Stewart?
He's been housed in Elaine Hunt since 2019. He's obtained a level 3 minimum custody status. He's currently a lead mentor and he's housed in our VETS program dorm. His last write-up was in 2008, so he's been 17 years disciplinary report free.
And sir, I see Warden Turner has stepped out and we had his name recorded on the record. Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir?
Deputy Warden Luke Raines.
Okay. Good to see you, Warden Raines.
Deputy Warden.
All right. Could we hear from Mr. Myers, Kerry Myers with the Parole Project?
There we go. Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We want the board to know that we're here in support of Mr. Stewart. We've been in support since prior to his clemency hearing, through his first parole hearing, and now. And there are several reasons why. One is before you. I'm not going to go through all that. You have his extensive record. He has been incarcerated for 32 years. I believe just that, rehabilitation, and I believe Mrs. Stewart has shown that, starts with accountability and recognition of the harm that was caused. It also requires a desire to change and an action based on that desire. And Mr. Stewart has done those things. And he's done it beyond what I would consider to be anything that would be minimally required of him. He's gone above and beyond. We're prepared to house and provide housing and support for Mr. Stewart, at least up until his 55th birthday, which is 10, 11 months from now. If there's any concerns about that, we certainly would be willing to keep him in our housing and in our program for at least that time. We would just ask the board to consider Mr. Stewart's rehabilitation, his remorse, the work that he's done, not only on himself vocationally and cognitively, but the work that he's done to give back to his communities through hospice, through Point Lookout, through being a leader and a mentor everywhere he's been. So I'm not taking the board's time anymore. Just ask this board to grant his parole today.
Mr. Myers. Here with us, we have the chaplain, Stacy Polozola. Would you like to speak? Would you step up to the podium, please?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Stacy Polozola. I've been at Elaine Hunt for 20 years. 18 of those years were as a volunteer. In the last couple, a little part-time as the Catholic chaplain out there. So part of my journey, though, that brought me to the Department of Corrections out at Elaine Hunt with my own journey as a victim of violent crime. So before I always agree to either speak and or like a letter of recommendation, I'm always looking at it through the eyes of not only my relationship with that person, but also through the eyes of what it must be like for the victim. You have the paperwork in front of you to see the accomplishments and opportunities that Mr. Stewart has taken advantage of during his incarceration. So, we're not going to go over that. But for me, what I also like to look at is how an inmate deals with disappointment, with bad news, bad health diagnosis. And since 2014, I've watched Steve on multiple occasions when those have occurred. And he's dealt with them with much grace and integrity. His faith, has never in those moments wavered, and his spirit remains steadfast. So I guess in closing, if the state of Louisiana were to write a new curriculum on what rehabilitation would look like, Mr. Stewart would be a perfect example of what success looks like. He has a plan. He has done everything that he possibly could do to make the most of 33 years and 32 years. And I also pay attention to what time really is. In a few hours, we're all going to be looking at our watch because we're going to be wanting lunch, or we're going to be looking at 4 o'clock on Friday or the summer vacation. 32 years is a long time with the Department of Corrections, and he has made the most of what a person could possibly do in this situation. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Wilkerson, would you want to say a few words?
Good morning, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I can echo the statements that Ms. Polozola made. I mean, Steve Stewart's record is in front of you, all of those accomplishments, but I've known him for a number of years, and I think for me, the reason why I've been before the board twice on his behalf is because he not only embodies rehabilitation, he embodies being the person that we all desire to be something. Despite the decisions that he made early on in life, he has given to the community in which he lives for so long. Any person that is willing to serve someone in hospital or hospital for 25 years, that's for me, that's an indication of your character. That's an indication of your love for mankind. So we can talk about all the things that he's done on paper, but his actions show. And just not long ago, a few weeks ago, I was talking with Steve, and I asked him the same question that I'm sure that you all may ask him. I said, Steve, why do you believe that you should be paroled? what's your reason? I have my reason. I know why you should be parole, but why do you believe that you should be parole? And I'm glad his mother, Miss Mercedes Stewart, and other family members are coming in right now. I'm so glad that they made it here. They were trying. Miss Mercedes suffered from completing a heart attack. His family has watched Steve come full circle for 32 years. And so when I asked him, I said, why do you believe that you should be paroled? His words to me were, I want to be paroled so that I can serve my community. He didn't say so that I can rebuild my life, so that I can do this, so that I can do something for me. He still is maintaining that he wants to serve the community, and he has done that for 32 years. There are a few people that have the record, not on paper, but being a man of character and learning from his mistakes that I've encountered through my journey throughout the Department of Corrections and now beyond. So I ask this board to please consider granting his board.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Stewart, did you hear that your mother was able to come into the room?
My mother, yes.
Well, we have some other folks that have joined us. Let's see, Olivia Dickinson, Mercedes Stewart, your mother, Asia Brown, and Richard Gardner. So you know. All right, Ms. Hutchinson, we'd like to hear your presentation now before we hear from the victim.
Thank you, committee. And before I start my presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Brock family that I know is present. I don't want them to think that any of the things that I say about the man that Steve is today is to diminish the hurt and pain that I know the family has felt. When you think about what a person being granted parole should look like and what their life should look like in their time in prison, I believe it's twofold. Because I think it's really the only way to gauge true remorse, and that's where it really starts. First, what has the person done to change who they are? Because if you're truly sorry for what you've done, then you'll do everything in your power to change from being that person. And then second, what has that person done to give back, to atone for their crime, and a crime that is so painful and hurtful as taking a life? You have before you the largest brief I've ever submitted, providing the depths of those two folds. And after speaking with classification this morning, I probably only had about half of his accomplishments, his work, and his volunteer work, because I think her packet was larger. And it's not that big simply because he's been incarcerated for over 30 years, but because of the consistent, constant, and real work he's done and continues to do even after his denial last year. From being undereducated and entering prison with an 8th grade education, he has an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and hours towards his master's degree. He's hireable with vocational skills in HVAC, electrical, construction site management, and generator and engine repair. But this just shows that he's moved on from the life he was living and is educated and employable now. I think the second fold is the important fold. It's the dedication to remorse and the shame that comes with taking a life. It comes from wanting to put something back into the world that's good after causing so much pain. It shows the internal change that makes a person no longer a threat to society. And what that looks like with Steve is over 20 years in hospice care, both at Angola and at Elaine Hunt. It's coordinating the transition program. It's pastoring and ministering at his church. It's tutoring in the education department. It's mentoring in the residential drug abuse program, teaching in the transitional program, and being a walking role model with only 8 disciplinary infractions in over 30 years and almost 30 classes that he's facilitated, mentored, or tutored. Steve is the whole picture of growth, education, humility, gratitude, change, and the profound remorse that he carries forever for taking Mr. Brock's life that led to these everyday actions. That's why his reentry plan is tailored towards the concerns that the Brock family said on his last hearing. He heard them. He will not be returning to the river parishes. It's outlined in the brief, those parishes. He will be with the Louisiana Parole Project till 55 to compensate for what the pardon board had requested, because we know the legislation takes precedence. But lastly, to grant Steve parole someone who is a proven leader in behavior, teaching, and ministry doesn't just benefit Steve, but the entire prison community. And I mean that beyond the walls of Elaine Hunt, because Steve's work with individuals you can see in all DOC institutions. His example of consistent integrity, personal growth, and service has inspired. And if granted parole, will continue to inspire others within the prison that the world sees their positive change. We acknowledge it, and that real redemption and rehabilitation, which we know to be true with Steve, can provide tangible outcomes. It's time to move Steve out of the way. Move him out the way so others can step up. Because people here know Steve's got it. He'll handle it. He'll teach it. Make way for others to move up into that spot. Give inspiration and motivation to others who aren't quite there yet, but look and see him every day on the wall. Allow them to walk in his footsteps as he moves on. He's ready, willing, and able to lead outside of this prison. He's inspired groups that come in all the time about the power of redemption and rehabilitation. And the many men that are here and present with you today are in this room because part of their rehabilitation came from Steve, whether it was as a mentor, a tutor, or a minister. So today we ask the board to see what all of them have seen in Steve and provide him a second chance with the guidance of the Louisiana Parole Project and any conditions this board and the family deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now we'll hear from the opposition, and Ms. Stephanie Sanchez wants to speak.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So I keep hearing, life, when you think about what we've missed, we're gonna focus on my brother for a while. He died at a very young age. Some specifics to the murder was that he wasn't just shot once, he was shot multiple times. And a bullet finally went into his lung. And he felt the pain of that. And felt his life flash in front of his face while he slowly died as his lungs filled up. My brother was a mechanic. He was full of life. He was loved by us. He was loved by his family. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't think of what we're missing. The kids he might have had that might have carried his legacy on that we have nothing of anymore. I don't know if you can truly feel the loss and the grief unless this has happened to you personally. My mom always said, the loss of a child was a hole in a heart that could never ever heal. When she passed away, she was a very depressed person because that person wasn't in her life anymore. It carried on to us, her grief and loss. It carried on to our grandchildren. It affected every moment and every second of our life, and it still does. The holidays, the vacations, the memories that we no longer have. My brother was full of life. He loved to drive race cars. He was an awesome mechanic. He worked side by side with my dad. It's just when we went to trial, it was life without parole, and we was able to slightly move on knowing that justice will be served. But, then it was 99 years, and then the 99 years turned into another number. And we just feel, he served a little over a quarter of his sentence and less than half of his sentence if we go back to the 99 years. I still, we have moved on. We've learned to live without my brother, all of us. And we have to carry his memory in our children and our grandchildren, but we just feel that at least half that sentence should be served. That is fair to us. Because it was tragic, it wasn't one bullet, it was multiple bullets that was being shot until a life had ended. It was violent. And you shouldn't kill people. It's not something that we do. We live in a society where we shouldn't be doing it. And also the family feel that he should at least serve half of his sentence. And I hear, about this life and all the people he's changed and all, but we never had that opportunity. We never had that chance for my brother, to make a change in his life. it's gone, you know, and it's just a grief and a walk that, you know, it's really deep. It affects every second of our life. Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here. All right, Mr. Stewart's, case was assigned to Mr. Byron.
Yep. Mr. Stewart, we had a lot of people talking about you and for you, but we haven't heard anything from you. This is your shot. Go ahead and tell us why you think you would be a good candidate for parole, what you've been doing.
All right, thank you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. First and foremost, I would like to just extend my deepest heartfelt apology, to the Brock family for causing them so much pain. And I pray that they'll understand that my heart goes out to them, and I take full responsibility for what I did. The crime that I committed, it was senseless, and I'll never probably be able to live that down. But everything that I have done it with Mr. Brock in mind, because I don't want to be a person who continue to hurt, but I want to be a person who serve and help people, so we won't make any more victims. As for this, the thing that I've done since I've been incarcerated, I was doing these things even before I had an opportunity that I was going to ever be released from prison, because it was in that moment that I realized that what I did was wrong. When I took Mr. Brock's life, I turned myself into the authorities, and I admitted to the crime. So I just want the board to just consider the things that I've done, and let the things that I've done speak for me, because it hurt me. I can't even begin to explain the pain it caused me, even having to go through all this again, and even having to think about the situation, because my intent wasn't to kill Mr. Brock, and now that's something that I have to continue to live with, and I got to continue to try to help other people to not go down the same path that I done went down. I see so many guys or men come into this prison with no direction, and so I try to help lead them in the right direction. I work with hospice. I'm a pastor in this community. I understand what it's like when people is grieving and they're hurting, because I'm the ear that they have to come talk to now. So I understand. I know how to express empathy. At one time, I didn't know all these things. If I could go back and speak to my 21-year-old self back then, I'll tell him to be patient, not to overreact, not to make permanent decisions on temporary feelings. A lot of things I'll go back and tell my younger self, so he wouldn't have to encounter these things. Thank you. That's it.
Anybody else has a question?
I have a couple of questions I just wanted to clarify. We were looking at your record a while ago, and we see from maybe 2014, 2019, you went back and forth to Angola for several days or weeks at a time. What was that about?
We going back on different conferences. That's when we used to have different conferences, and they used to bring all the peer ministers back, and the pastors back for those different conferences.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's kind of what I thought. We needed some clarification. Thank you for that. I don't see any other questions, so I do believe the panel is prepared to vote. Mr. Bylaw?
Listening to the testimony and reading the reports, you have done a great job in prison. You have completed a lot of programs. Hearing the pain that the victims still suffer. I'm going to go ahead and vote to grant your parole upon turning age 55. I think that's one of the points that maybe the victim thought would be a a settling point, so I'm gonna go with that.
Ms. Ledoux? Can we go into an executive session? We have a motion for executive session. I'll second. Can you call the roll?
Chairman Johnson,
Yes.
Daniel Byron,
Yes.
Gary Ledoux.
Yes. So we'll be in executive session for just a couple of moments to discuss confidential matters. All right, I will make the motion that we return to regular session. It's 10:09. Is there any objection to the motion? All right, we're back in regular session. So after our discussion of confidential matters, Mr. Barra has asked to reconsider his vote. So I'll ask for his vote at this time.
All right. I'm gonna still go ahead and vote to grant, but put the release date for May 1st of next year. That's as far as I can get it out there.
Mrs. Ledoux?
My vote is to grant parole with the condition that Mr. Stewart do not return to the parish of conviction, nor have any kind of contact with the victims whatsoever, as well as stay in the facilities and under the program for the Parole project for up to 1 year.
All right, my vote today, I voted for Mr. Stewart at his clemency hearing. My vote today also is to grant the parole with the same conditions that have been outlined by Mrs. Ledoux, that he do stay with the parole project at least to his age 55. The proceeding is that his parole has been granted to the parole project.